So this is our presentation on academic peer pressure. One of our members, one of our members actually couldn't make it today, so it is just. So why did we choose to do academic peer pressure? So we're actually from a pretty competitive school district. A lot of people take very competitive classes, lots of APs, lots of A's, lots of pressure to do very well. And I'm sure that a lot of people in our school district can relate. So we decided we were going to talk to different students and staff about what academic peer pressure, what they think it is, and if they think it's affecting students, and if it is affecting students, how it's affecting students. So basically, we just talked to a lot of people. We had an anonymous survey. We just gathered a lot of information, see if this was a problem that needed to be solved.
So our timeline was, so in late November, we finished our Be There certifications, and we had our first meeting with the mental health consultant to choose our topic, and we chose this topic for preliminary research for like posts and like stuff. And early January we continued working on posts and second consultant meeting, and we created a survey and finished the interviews with the kids, like our school students. In mid-January, we closed survey and recorded final data and finished posting and interviews. Oh, and while we were doing Be There certificate, we learned like 3 key points that were creating a safe environment and encouraging help from professionals and not judging others or giving advice, unnecessary advices.
So we consulted a mental health professional first to see what she thought about our problem at Novi High School. So we talked to Ms. Surgison, who's a certified counselor at Novi High School, and we decided to talk to her about potential causes and effects of academic peer pressure and if there were any problems within the community that could also be addressed. She admitted that Novi is a highly academically competitive school, which may cause a lot of unspoken academic peer pressure among students. So we had two different meetings with Ms. Surgison. The first meeting was about mental health issues at Novi High School in general, and the second meeting was more focused on peer pressure because at that point we had already chosen our topic. So in our first meeting, we talked about various mental health struggles. Depression, anxiety came up. She talked about how a lot of students were actually more willing to come forward and talk about their mental health struggles after the pandemic, which was kind of interesting. And during the second meeting, we talked more about peer pressure. So she mentioned that Novi is actually very diverse. So having different cultures means different academic expectations, which can mean more or less peer pressure depending on the person. And with Novi, unfortunately, that usually means.
So one of the major reasons why we chose this topic is because we personally can relate to this peer pressure, and we also made a post about our experience on peer pressure about taking some like AP or honors classes that were not necessary, but we felt pressure to take them because everybody was taking it.
So this is our research. Our research process was we did some preliminary research and then we kind of made it more about our school. So we talked about people at our school and their experiences. So it was more community and local rather than just internet-based research for us. And we found that there were different risk factors, protective factors, and effects on mental health that came with academic peer pressure. So as Ms. Surgison said, cultures with higher academic performance standards, they can also pose a risk factor and make people more prone to academic peer pressure. And having friends in your group that are academically gifted, that can also make people feel like they need to do better, even if what the level that they're at is good for them. The different protective factors, Ms. Surgison said that talking to your counselor and having a balanced schedule helps. So even if not taking AP classes necessarily. If you do need a challenge, you could maybe take a harder elective instead of taking an AP class. Or if your AP classes are too hard, maybe you can talk to your counselor and make it a little less difficult. So giving equal importance to AP classes and standard level classes and realizing that both can be educational experiences and knowing your limits as a student is also a protective factor. So if you realize that maybe the schedule that you have is too difficult, then maybe finding a way to schedule around that. So effects on mental health that academic peer pressure has, we found from a survey of students that it's an overall decrease in mental health. A lot of students reported increased stress levels, feeling maybe inferior to others, burnout, maybe sleeping less.
So first, we did some online research on peer pressure of other schools or other communities, and we made a survey for our school students, which we gathered about more than 100 data, and we did a lot of interviews on our students, our friends, and our teachers, and our counselors.
So this is our social media campaign. We can't show the interview right now. This is a screenshot of our Instagram. I'm actually going to go to our Instagram page and see if we can play some interviews from there. So here is just a rough look at our Instagram page. So we have lots of quotes from different teachers and students. And here we actually have statistical evidence from our survey. So our survey had over 100 responses, which compared to the population in our school is, I'd say, pretty significant. We had a mix of grade levels and course loads. We actually have an interview.
So, we're here to talk about academic peer pressure at Novi High School. So, have you seen or experienced any peer pressure within your friend group or just other people where they've taken harder classes or just classes in general that they probably wouldn't have taken if they hadn't seen their friends doing it?
Yeah, I've definitely seen like a lot of my friends who were sophomores last year, they took AP Chem, and I've been seeing a lot of people taking it this year. And that's not to say that there obviously aren't some motivations about like, you know, they want to go into a particular field of study and like that's why they take certain classes. But I think to an extent some certain people saying a class wasn't that bad or something they could handle kind of contributed to people taking the class, and I have a lot of friends who are like not doing so well.
So, we're here. Have there been any classes that you personally have taken because you thought that other people were doing it and you wanted to do it as well?
Yeah, like actually at the beginning of the semester I was taking IB Business, and you know, I had a lot of friends who were taking it, so I thought, okay, I've got people, like it'll be fine, and I've heard that the class is like fun or easy or chill or whatever. And I got to it, and I kind of realized that I didn't actually like business that much. And so the class just wasn't a good fit for me. And the workload and the projects and presenting on top of that, I ended up switching out like 2 weeks later.
Have there been any classes that you personally have taken? So, do you think that peer pressure sometimes can be a good thing?
I mean, absolutely. Like this one time I was studying for the SAT, and you know, having like studying with friends really helped me because it's like other people who are also taking the SAT who want to get high scores, and it kind of motivates you to do better, and I think that definitely helped. But you know, there's always the other element to it of doing too much and overworking yourself, and that's like a negative thing.
So when you say that you're working with the SAT, you wouldn't really describe it as peer pressure, would you? More like a shared environment, probably?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there was always like a bit of pressure, like, oh, you know, your friends are studying, you should also study. But I think doing it together and having that community like really helped me, and that's what I thought I would get with business, and it ended up not really working out.
So do you think there's a special problem at Novi? Do you think that it's worse at Novi, better?
I think it's worse in Novi. I do not think it's limited to Novi. I feel like peer pressure you see in so many different aspects like of life as well. But especially talking about like academic, I've got plenty of friends in other school districts who are like, I'm struggling in my classes, I thought I'd be fine, but like, you know, and I feel like it all really comes down to other people taking classes and you just kind of want to try and live up to that. And Novi, it's bad because the standard is just so high.
a special problem at Novi? Do you think that it's worse at Novi? But do you have any potential solutions for when peer pressure becomes bad?
I mean, for me, I switched out of my class. Like, I kind of made that decision myself. I was like, I don't want to give myself more stress this year, junior year. It's, with the SAT and everything. I made the decision to take it easy. I've got plenty of friends still taking IB business, but for me, that wasn't the right, decision. So I switched.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that is just one of the interviews we did. As you can tell, Meghna is a wonderful lady and we love her. So yeah, basically our Instagram was basically just some online research. Here we have like demographics of the students we surveyed. So a lot of the people that we surveyed did take at least one APIB class, but the amount of classes did vary. And we had a lot of juniors, a lot of sophomores, not as many seniors or freshmen, but they still were there. So I think we had a pretty, maybe not balanced, but we did represent everyone in some sort of manner. That is our Instagram. Moving back to our presentation, we have our potential next step.
So we thought about potential next steps of lessening the peer pressure. Of course, it cannot be totally demolished, but so we thought we could acquire more data on it and to ensure that our data is fully representative of our population and collaborate with school clubs like SADD to create events such as fun games or activities that people can just do it without thinking too much and without any pressure, and work with our counselors to negotiate the use of more scheduled one on the meetings.
Thank you.